Hello, everybody out there in free enterprise land. We have got a race between slippery42 and Possumorpheus tonight in the Threemus zone. Table. I am going to be one of your commentators tonight. I am Dijon Ketchup, and I am joined here by Snape D.
Hello, hello. How are you doing? And how are you doing, Dijon?
I am doing okay.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, we have got quite a race here tonight, as we often do here during this lunar table bracket. We have Slippery42 and Possumorpheus, two runners that have yet to taste the bitterness of defeat in the table stage. One of them will no longer be able to make that claim at the end of this race. Looks like we've got a telestart, and I bet both of our runners are going to be very happy to see that.
Yeah, Tella definitely a good get in these table flags.
Yeah, just a ton of utility. Of course, with the party rules that we have set up, the very first character has to be a part of your party. Any character from that point on can be told to wait it out at the Tower of Wishes on the bench, can then be brought in. But once you have accepted a character into your team, they cannot be removed. Tella is a character that has a lot of legs on him. Very useful early on because of the diversity of his spell list, and then later on can make a fantastic agility anchor as well. So you're going to see a good amount of use of him throughout the race, even if it isn't necessarily for damage.
Yeah, we've also got some pretty good diversity in the objectives. Of course, we've got the prerequisite forging of the Legend Sword. Um, you've got defeating the bosses at Baron Inn, which is a pretty early game thing that we get. Then there's completing Cave Magnus, which requires the Twin Harp for. And then you've got the Vanilla Crystal Sword Altar, which is going to be up on the moon. So that's a pretty good variety there.
Yeah, I really like to see when there is a lunar objective in the mix, because there is always a lot of ambiguity that we've seen in these flag sets as to whether the moon is going to be a major part of the game or not. Seeing that Crystal Sword Altar in there is going to mix it up, make it a little spicier, give a good probability that we're going to see some moon action, which really means that you're going to have to, get your party up to speed a little earlier because they're going to want to take on those lunar bosses, hunt for key items up there on the moon. So I really like to see when that's in there.
And we've got a potential required music, which is good for the fans.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Rosa as a second
Ooh.
character, yeah, I can't imagine either of them are going to pass up on that.
Oh, and there's an immediate hook as well. Oh. Uh.
Well,
Well, bye, Rosa.
this it's been an ongoing thing where I make a claim like that and one of the runners immediately shows me up. So that does not mean that Rosa is completely gone. Rosa will just be going to the Tower of Wishes. She can be picked up at any point. Once the runner has picked their fifth character, though, that's it. They can't do any more changes to their party. So the idea being, Rosa, not exactly a damage powerhouse early in the game, is going to shine later on when healing becomes more mandatory. So I can absolutely see Slippery deciding not to take her.
Yep, but she'll always be waiting there at Mysidia because
Yeah,
we
or
have
oh,
that flag on.
yeah, already some divergence here. We've got Slipper going into Baron, so to the more standard play here, seeing Yang and Leviathan as the first boss in the inn. Meanwhile, Possumorpheus is checking out that Watery Pass and sees Palom, probably going to take him. There's some really good early game damage that's going to scale very well into the late game.
Yep. Hallam learns Quake real early on, and having him from the very beginning of the game is pretty good because you're going to have Quake for most of this run.
Yeah, absolutely. Not to mention, as soon as you take out rather a single boss, that's going to give Palom enough experience to get a couple levels. That's going to give him those tier 2 elemental spells, and his damage is going to be online and good to go through the rest of the overworld right there. Getting an hourglass inside of that waterfall chest, that is a really nice pickup. That can trivialize a number of bosses and just an all-around really good utility item.
Yeah, there was also a Bacchus wine in one of those chests.
Yeah, very, very good if we get any solid melee characters to join this team.
Slippery deciding to send Quake Kid away. Probably waiting until he checks all the free characters before taking any.
Yeah, that's why they're all in kind of one place. He can just sort of pick and choose his team from there. It's very solid strategy. Neither runner is going to be doing any major fighting immediately, so there's not a huge rush to start picking up characters until you have a larger picture.
And the window went by pretty fast, so I might have misread it, but I think Possumorpheus found a mute bell, which there are a couple of bosses that is actually pretty useful against.
Yeah, immediately those Baron Guards come to mind with those nasty counterattack spells, so yeah. Ooh, Life Staff. Rose is going to love that. That is her. That is best in slot for her as a white mage.
Yeah, if you're going pure white magic, Life Staff is the best, and then for damage-wise, or like physical damage-wise, Party Bow, generally pretty top tier.
Oh yeah, especially if you can supplement it with some solid arrows and something like a heroine robe that basically swaps Rose's stats around to become a fighter instead of a mage. I can do some seriously solid damage there. A lot of money in Damstand. That's going to be good for these initial shopping trips.
Yo, dog, we heard you like Odin.
Not something that we're going to see used very often, but does sell for quite a glimmering gill.
Here's an Edward. Probably not going to take him.
Yeah, Edward's hide ability has some very, very niche uses, but it's not something that is tremendously reliable in all situations.
Yeah, and when you've got Permajoin and no Spoon Flag, there's not much reason to have him around unless it's a Jet Seed and you need to use the Eddie strats against Threemus.
Yeah, right you are. Even then, just sending him to the Tower of Wishes and keeping a 5th slot open, if you're suspecting a Jet Seed, is perfectly fine. And if you're practicing those Eddie strats, just go grab them before the Threemus fight. No need to have them tag along up until then. But nothing has given me the impression so far that the seed is going to be particularly jetty, but that remains to be seen.
Yeah, I mean, considering we need 2 key items for one objective and a key item for 2 of the others.
There's a second Tella. Tella's a great character, but 2 Tellas, not a lot of use there. Going to get the... Yeah, looks like just wanted to get the intel there. See that is indeed the Water Hag. So any blue robes in the future must be the Alt Gauntlet.
Which is an unfortunate place to have the Water Hag, because that is, in most cases, a free boss.
Right you are. Slippery going over to Mount Ordeals. Looks like this is going to be a character check. Meanwhile, Possumorpheus making the slightly more standard play right into Antlion Cave to get the first boss down and our first look at a key item location check. And there's Rydia on Ordeals. Nope. Off to the tower with you.
There's our gauntlet.
Oh, goodness. Lots of blue robes early on here. So, this isn't the worst gauntlet, just for the fact that you've got some attacking items, just like Possumorpheus is using there. And the fact that all of these encounters are going to give their standard amount of experience means that Possumorpheus might be coming out of here a little bit higher leveled than he would be from just a regular fight, but it is still going to take a while. After 1 or 2 of these fights, Palom might have enough experience to get his tier 2 elemental spells, and then that'll help with the rest of the fights in the gauntlet. But we're just kind of looking at the silver linings here. No one likes to run into the gauntlet.
So Mysidia had a Yang and a Porum. Rosa definitely the better of the two white mages.
Yeah, don't count Porum out. There are a couple of advantages Porum has. Porum learns the Berserk spell quicker than Rosa, and Porum also naturally learns the Exit spell. Now, since we already have Tella in the party, that second point is kind of moot, and Tella is also going to have access to Berserk as soon as Ordeals is done, so Porum looks even worse with that. But given the situation, you know, Porum can outshine Rosa a little bit, even though Rosa is generally going to be your preferred white mage for the end game.
Oh, we found silk webs in the Mysidia shop. Those are definitely useful in some quantities.
Absolutely.
Most notably, throwing one out at the beginning of the Z fight.
Yeah, that fight can be is already a little bit hair raising, and can be even more so if you don't have those silk webs to slow Zeromus down from the get go. I believe was that the Wonder Claw itself? I believe it was. So yeah, the Thunderclaw for Yang, really, really good weapon for him, just given the amount of bosses that have lightning as a weakness. Allows him to exploit that. It also makes some fights like the Searchers in the trap chests in the Tower of Babel way more easy to deal with. So it makes getting items out of those more reliable strategy. And Possumorpheus has found the Pan, which we don't have Underworld access yet, but that is going to be a huge boon once we can get underground.
Yeah, that is going to lead to 2 more freebies, so definitely not a bad thing to get out of the Alt Gauntlet fight. You definitely got your money's worth.
And our runners kind of covering each other's tracks here. While they are, I do want to give a huge shout out to our behind the scenes crew tonight. We've got Pankraz doing the restream tonight. Their second time on the restream, doing a fantastic job in what is can be an incredibly stressful situation. So give them a huge shout out. Also, Gambit doing the tracking, making sure all the numbers and buttons are lit up properly. So huge thanks to them for volunteering for this late night match.
Not quite sure why Possumorpheus is fighting the Water Hag. Dismissed that Tella and knew it had to be He knew it had to be Water Hag because he already fought the Alt Gauntlet.
My thinking is that he wants access to those chests. There's one chest immediately after the fight and 3 on the back of Hobbs. They can have some decent gear in them early on, and since it's already going to be a guaranteed fight, might as well go ahead and try them, especially since you can just exit out with Tella.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Yeah, and chat pointing out wanting the XP for Palom also to get Palom online with those tier 2 elemental spells.
And Possumorpheus seems to be going straight on to Fabul.
Yeah, a lot of times you want to try to get as much value out of Fabul as you can, especially since you've got the Pan, you're going to come back here later for a check, but you also don't want to leave any stone unturned on a potential hook route because that Magma Key could be hiding out. So yeah, I like the Fabul play here, just to make sure that, because we have seen some very nasty hook routes so far this table.
Oh yeah. Oh, and we've got some Dark Imps.
Yeah, one of those bosses we mentioned earlier that is not subject to that boss bit, so things such as those hourglasses and death spells, things of that nature can be effective on them, but not a terribly difficult spot to find them. I imagine just conventional means is going to take care of them without much issue.
Indeed.
Oh wow, that was a virus recall with Possumorpheus. Not a bad pull there. Recall, it generates a random spell from Tella's spell list, even if he doesn't have access to it yet. And getting a virus spell, which is one of the better offensive spells Tella has access to.
Yeah, virus definitely a very useful spell to have.
It kind of confused me for a brief moment because, like, he hasn't been to ordeals yet. What is going?
It's just the game genie flag.
And we're about to get our check here with the King of Ebelin, and it is the Bahamut spell. Well, we got that Rydia.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Probably one of your best summons for Rydia.
Yeah, a Rydia with Bahamut can carry you very, very far into the seed. There are a couple things that make Rydia unappealing. She has a very poor experience growth curve. It takes a lot of experience to get her up to the point where she learns the nuke spell, which you would need to make her useful against Zeromus, since Bahamut is just going to get trigger Zeromus's nasty, nasty counter spells. Her HP also is not going to be great compared to some other characters, which can be an important threshold against Zeromus, but for the rest of the flag, Rydia would be fantastic. So I wouldn't be surprised if with that Bahamut spell, Rydia is picked up just to sort of push through the seed and then sort of abandoned for the last fight.
Yeah, an early Rydia with Bahamut definitely can help you tear through a lot of the early part of the seed.
Gonna see those options in Young and Porum. Can't imagine either of them being picked up right now. Yang is an attractive target for a slingshot later in the game because of the way his damage scales with levels. If you can sort of slingshot his level up using the bonus experience, the way that is given, he can be a very effective melee fighter in the very, very end game. But up until then, he's not great at dealing damage. His damage is always going to be a little bit on the low side. But he has a very good HP pool, so he can tank a lot. Makes a really good chemist throughout the game.
Yeah, and the way Yang's weapons work doesn't increase his damage, just adds elements.
Right, you are. Yeah, now he's going to Ordeals, which is where we know that Rydia is hanging out. Gonna like to see this. I don't think he's sold that Bahamut yet, so. And there she is. Rydia is on the team.
Yeah, it's hard to turn down a Bahamut this early in the seed.
Yeah, now it's going to take a bit before Rydia is online enough to be able to cast that spell reliably. It does have a very massive MP cost. Oh, the swag saving off of the save point there.
Yep. That's a thing you couldn't do at older versions because this is the first version that doesn't trigger that text box every time you step on the save point.
I still, just from sheer muscle memory, avoid save points before I remember, oh wait, I don't have to do that anymore. I believe this is the Baron Guards, unless it is the Kaipo Guards. It is the Baron Guards, so that means, yeah, that Mute spell is going to be very useful. The Mute Bell can also be thrown. That's going to limit their counterattack options and make them very, very easy to deal with.
Of course, you don't like to see this many of the free boss fights so early on.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Especially since the flags are indicating we might be heading to the moon at some point. You would kind of hope to see some of these free fights there. But yeah, they're getting out of the way early, which means we might have a little bit of nastiness waiting for us up there. And throwing a life out there, getting the life glitch activated, so that's going to get a bit more experience for his team. That Rydia and that Palom especially are going to like that, since they are very, they're going to be very reliant on their level for damage. Palom for access to spells, and Rydia for access to MP to cast that Bahamut spell.
Slippery right behind. Coming up the mountain.
Now, I was not watching Slippery's screen. Did Slippery go by Mysidia to pick Rydia up, or is he still without Rydia?
I don't believe he has Rydia. I think he's still just got that one free spot because he took the Yang. Probably why he hasn't gone back and taken her, because he only has one space.
Gotcha. Yeah, very good point. So yeah, this is we're already seeing some team divergence here between the two runners, which is really fun to see. There we are, popping that Bahamut item, so Rydia can now summon dragons at her leisure. And popping one of those Odins, too, so he still has it hanging around. Not a spell we're likely to see much out of, because it has a staggeringly unreliable hit rate. But in a pinch, against the right bosses, Bahamut can be useful. Or, excuse me, Odin can be useful. Bahamut's just always useful.
Yeah. But Odin could be useful against, say, the other guard fight.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Speaking of Bahamut.
Yeah.
And we're going to see some dueling dragons here. Added some good damage, and the King of Eidolons is down.
2 Bahamuts enter, 1 Bahamut leaves.
Excuse me, the father of Eidolons. King is Leviathan. Excuse me. And so now we're going to get a key item check here in the Kluya Shrine. Tella is going to get access to his full spell list, and if Cecil decides to show up from this point on, it's going to be a Paladin instead of a Dark Knight.
And the boss find here has pretty low HP, so most things are going to be non-threatening here.
Ooh, Darkness Crystal. That's a big pickup there.
And probably still too under-leveled to actually, go to the moon right now, but it's there when we need it.
Yeah, most certainly. It opens some things up. Like we were talking about, there are not a lot of free fights left. So I don't think there's a ton of incentive to go hunting on the moon for those freebies just yet. But there is an extra character hit up there. There's an extra shop up there. All things that can be checked at some point.
And Calbrenadals didn't stand a chance against that big bomb. Quake would have been good to use there if Palom knew it already, but I don't believe he's learned it yet.
And now that we have Tella with his full spell list and that Darkness Crystal, that opens up the D-Machine grind for both of our runners whenever they want to do that. So an early grind might be in the cards.
Yeah, though I imagine he'll probably wait a bit longer on that, simply to at least have an idea of what he's going to fill in that final slot with.
And right over to Mysidia to trigger the cutscene and get that whale out of the ocean.
As of right now, we still have not seen a Magma Key, but we do have the hook, so running out of opportunities to find a Magma Key.
Yeah, there are a couple of spots that the Demus could be hiding out at that would give access to a Magma Key, potentially, as a through Rydia's mom. Of course, we haven't done the Baron in fight, which of course is an objective, so that could also provide a Magma Key as well. But yeah, it's starting to look like a Hook Seed. And into the Tower of Wishes with Possumorpheus, going to do some party finagling here. We might have a final party from him.
Bit
And
surprised that he'd be filling in that last slot without checking the free character spot on the moon now that he has access.
yeah, that's true, but he might just just be confident enough with, well, Yang is going to be a perfectly fine character to level up. I think Yang is in slingshot range at this point. I'm not entirely sure what his initial level is off the top of my head. But yeah, getting him up to level 50, level 60 means he's going to be a beast of a melee fighter. And you don't have to find any equipment for him either, like you would if, say, a Cecil or Kane was up there on the moon. So he's just already ready to go right out of the box.
Yeah, to answer a question in chat, the D Machine grind is a viable one. There's also the Mac Giant one that can be done. Sirens are not guaranteed in these flag sets.
Yeah, you're not going to be able to buy sirens from any of the shops, and you can't steal them either. They're removed from the steel table. I know if you can't find sirens, one of the common ways to get them is using Edge to steal from the searchers in the Tower of Babel. That's disabled in this flag set. The only way to come across sirens is randomly from chests, and that is absolutely not reliable. So yeah, alternate grind options have to be considered in this flag set.
Looking like Possumorpheus setting up Tella's spell menu for the grind, and there goes those encounters on.
Yes, indeed. Putting Tella in that center slot for that accuracy bonus, very, very much required for doing a D Machine grind. Tella's stats not impressive at all. Can have some difficulty actually landing his spells. You're going to want as much accuracy as you can so that the weak spells that you use on the D Machines actually hit. Because if they miss and you've got things queued up in a problematic way, you can be taking a lot of damage, can end your grind prematurely and waste a lot of time. And so he is setting up his encounter manipulation so that the fight that he gets into inside of the Giant of Babel will be that D Machine grind. Essentially, there is a chart that you can look up and tell you essentially what a random number generation seed you are on. That will basically determine how many fights you need to do here in order to cycle it through. So your first fight is the D Machine grind. The reason that you have to do it this way is that you cannot run from encounters. So the normal way of doing it while you're already in the Giant of Babel will not work because you will have to actually fight through the encounters up there, and at your current level, you are in no way prepared to fight those encounters.
Yeah, they put in that no run flag to kind of I guess discourage people from doing the D Machine grind, but then people just found a new way to do it. So the lesson learned is if you ever want people to find something new and some sort of new manipulation or exploit in an old game, just ban the method that's already being used. Speedrunners will find a way.
If you want to change the meta, sometimes the meta is going to change you. And into the Giant of Battle, Possumorpheus goes. Going to go a few levels deep here till we get to the right screen where that encounter can be found. And as Possumorpheus sets up, Slippery is headed over to the Baron area to set up his own manipulation. Just doing it here because these are the easiest enemies to fight, quickest to get through, and get to that encounter that you want to be on.
So yeah, we're looking at a grind 30 minutes in on both players with full parties already. And doing it all before we have any objectives complete, so you know, it's a seed.
Yes, indeed. So yeah, grab something to drink, grab a couple snacks. We're gonna be in here for just a little bit to as our runners get their team powered up here. Now, once these beamer enemies are dead, I'll be whacking that searcher, and if we've done the manipulation right, we should see a D machine. What makes the D machine special is that all of the attacks that it does are percentage based, which means they are not a threat to your party unless you trigger its physical attack. But you can avoid that by just using the weak spell, which brings down to single-digit HP, follow it up with an attack, and then hopefully get a life potion or two on it to trigger that life glitch and get more experience out of it. You do this continuously over and over in the same fight to just rack experience points up without having to deal with sitting through the end animations, the victory animations, the calculation of money, and all that. Skips all of that, so you just get a nice, juicy bit of experience at the end, and then you can just sort of power through the rest of the seed. And, ooh, missing one of those lives there, and it hitting the searcher.
Yeah, that was unfortunate. Probably didn't quite get the life off in time.
Yeah, it can be especially tricky just because there's a very brief window in which you can actually use the life potion after you've done the damage and while the enemy is fading. If you have it timed out beforehand that you know the fatal damage is coming through, you can queue up a life potion in advance, which is what you can do especially in this fight. But yeah, if you are trying to do it on the fly, some missed inputs can lead to lives going where you don't want them to.
Yeah, the life glitch works in a way where if you manage to use the life on an enemy that doesn't have like the boss flag, it will actually cast life, but because of how it like removes the enemy from play, it revives to a health of 0, which instantly kills it again. So it counts as another kill, and you get the experience for that kill as well. Also, noticing that Slippery got back attacked on this grind, actually.
Yeah, it's not as threatening a back attack as a lot of locations can be, just because what you're going to be doing through this fight is so set in stone, and there's Row really isn't going to affect things. Ideally, the dragon is never going to physically attack, so you're going to take the same damage regardless. But yeah, you might take a little bit more damage at the beginning because the enemy's going first. But again, even the beamers have percentage HP-based attacks, so not the most threatening back attack, but it does lead to some really cool symmetry down the center of the screen here.
Comment in chat saying they're convinced all the glitches in this game are just functioning as intended. I mean, if you think about it, technically, yeah, it is functioning, quote, as intended, because it's not so much that they're, like, bugs. It's just, like, kind of oversights in the coding of the game, partially based on things that wouldn't normally have been possible in the vanilla game, but are possible in here, such as the warp glitch for Dwarf Castle.
And if we can get a little, philosophical about this, which we can afford to do, because there's not anything else that's going to be going on here for the next 10 minutes. I'm an English major. Authorial intent is not necessarily the only thing in the world. You say it's a glitch. I say it's a beautiful thing that was created, and whether it was intended to be or not, it doesn't really change the fact that it's here and it's glorious, and it allows us to experience this game in such a wonderful way. It's a phenomenal collection of mistakes that allows this game to really shine as a randomized speed game. Also, am I invoking death of the developer? Absolutely. If you ever quote a developer saying what they intended to do, doesn't matter, because all that matters is the finished product. Developers shouldn't be allowed to patch games either.
Also, Scala pointing out that the warp glitch is in the vanilla game too, so I was apparently incorrect on that. I haven't played vanilla, but technically still works as intended. They just changed the flag for the crystal room at the inopportune point, because it's not in this flag set, so we're not going to see it, but we've got some time to kill. So the warp glitch is when you complete the Dwarf Castle boss, and you automatically leave the crystal room. You can use warp to warp back to the crystal room, but because to save space on the ROM, they used one crystal room for the Dwarf Castle crystal room and the Sealed Cave crystal room. It has already changed the flag to believe that the one you're going to is the one in the Sealed Cave. So, even though you're going back to the same room, the game has already updated itself to think it's a different version of that same room. So, the code's working exactly the way it's intended.
Yeah, the developers are just like, no, you can't go back into that room. We've already switched the flag over. And your black mage is just, haha, warp spell, go.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, there's a lot of fun things in the coding of, older games to save space like this. Particularly when you consider this was released in Japan in 1990. Or was it 91? I think it was 91 there, 92 here, or 90 there, 91 here. Something about that. I know the Super Nintendo was released in the US in 91. That being said, it's an early game and it had, you know, a lot less cartridge space and a lot more figuring out how to make a game this big with the new hardware. Oh, it was 91 for both versions? Okay.
And some good news. Possumorpheus has finished his D Machine grind, and looks like he's just shy of the nuke spell on Palom there. Unless that was
sure he'll get there.
That looks like this is Rydia here now.
And
nope.
There's a nuke.
Alright, well, one person's got nuke. The other person will get it shortly after.
Yeah. I mean, we have no objectives and only 2 key items, so...
So yeah, now that Possumorpheus is essentially playing in New Game Plus mode, he can just kind of steamroll his way through the game. It's all a matter of routing at this point. What's the most efficient way to get where I need to go to finish this seed up?
All right. So, where are we heading next?
Well, I've got to imagine Possumorpheus finishes out the overworld here and goes to Barren Inn, since that's an objective there. And then depending on what key item is there, would, maybe sort of guide him in the direction of where he's going to head next. The moon is looking very attractive right now. A lot of key item checks up there. Nothing that's really going to stand in the way of any of your party members here at this point. There's a strong potential to get what you need there. Plus, there's an objective there with the Crystal Sword. You would only need to find the Twin Harp or both pieces of the Excalibur on the moon to be in go mode. Now, if you do go the Adamant Legend Sword route, that does still mean you need to go through the hook route to get underground to forge it, unless the Magnum Key is also on the moon. So, I don't know. The moon just looks really, really attractive right now to me.
It's rough, buddy. You're welcome, Scala.
And as expected here, fight against Leviathan, and as that's happening, slippery42 has finished his grind, so he's going to be in the same position that Possumorpheus is. This is going to come down to routing at this point.
Yep. So, opening of Leviathan looked kind of scary, but then you remember that the big wave does percentage-based damage.
Right you are. Antlion is going to be the very opposite of scary here. 1 nuke, maybe 2 should be all you need to get through this. It's only 4,000 HP. Now, Rydia's got this.
Oh.
Well, now.
So, we've got a rock.
So that is interesting. That is one half of that Excalibur we talked about earlier, which of course is one of the objectives in all of the seeds on this flag set. So you got objective 2 done. You've got half of objective 1 done. All you need is the other half of objective 1, the Twin Harp, and or the go and finish that Crystal Sword altar, which we have access to. So yeah, I'll be very interested to see where Possumorpheus decides to go now.
Yeah. And as they say, everybody wants a rock to wind a piece of string around.
Gonna make some quick D-Machine checks here.
Demist.
Demist, excuse me.
It's all right. We've seen a handful of. Well,
Well, there's D
that is a
something.
D.
Not these D's we were looking for. Looks like we might be headed to the moon here because we are going to pick up that big whale.
Yeah, he went and dropped that, faked us out by dropping off the hovercraft, and then went for the moon.
Just completely deked there.
Probably just gonna go straight for that crystal sword altar.
Yeah, wouldn't surprise me if he goes down there. It's going to be right next to that juicy stash of key item checks down there. Just a lot of potential to be found there. And hey, Yang is on the moon too.
I was gonna laugh if it was like an edge or something, because that would have been a good character to have.
Yeah, it would be a good character to have, but I almost prefer Yang in this situation. Because that essentially means we're done looting. We don't have to go find weapons like we would for Edge because Yang is already good to go. He's, I think, level 58 or something, which means his damage is going to be something like 4,000 against Threemus once properly berserked, and that doesn't require any of the high-end katanas that Edge would need in a similar situation. So, I mean, I think the Yang is perfectly serviceable here.
I just like Edge better.
Oh no, I love Edge. Don't get me wrong. I main Ninja in 14, so I have to like Edge.
There was also a shop I saw earlier that had middle swords in it, so.
Yeah, a good step up from those short swords. You always hate to go into Threemus fight swinging those short swords because then Edge doesn't look so great.
And Slippery coming up right behind Possumorpheus to the moon. So they both seem to be very much in the same mindset of how to go about this.
Yeah, absolutely. If they're going to be following the same mentality with the same routing, it's going to come down to execution. Right now, Possumorpheus' execution is just slightly edging out Slippery, but that can all change at a moment's notice. I think one of the big things that gave Possumorpheus that advantage is he had a lot easier time on ordeals since he had that Rydia slinging Bahamut against Bahamut. That fight slowed Slippery down just a little bit. And right now, that seems to be the major difference in time between the two of them.
Apparently, the chat is role-playing Among Us right now.
As you do sometimes.
Alright, who's at this assaulter? Golbez is the assaulter from the altar.
Ooh, not a fun fight there at all. I think Possumorpheus is going to take a reset and set some things up here. Oh, and opening the fight with the Venom on his own team, that's going to put the poison status on him. What that means is, since there's a hierarchy of statuses in this game, you only have one status on at a time, that's going to prevent his team from getting hit with that hold gas. It's going to allow him to act during Golbez's cutscene and better prepare himself for when the Shadow Dragon comes out.
A bold strategy, Cotton.
I don't think his own characters appreciate them poisoning themselves, but they'll appreciate the grand tactics in the long run.
Yeah, they all turned into Veruca Salt. Still doesn't stop them from dying, though.
Nope, but this does mean that he can act before this cutscene is over, throw out some lives to get the characters he needs to get up, and hit them with those Star Veils to start reflecting Golbez's spells. We see slippery42 taking a alternative path here, getting people minied and pigged, which will also do a similar thing.
Golbez doesn't seem to notice that he's being attacked.
Ooh, and that Fire Claw, you can see the damage going out from Yang. Golbez has a fire weakness because it is very hot inside that armor. So yeah, Yang exploiting that with that Fire Claw and doing an absolute ton of damage. Palom is going to be doing some good damage here as well. Doesn't have access to that nuke, but making up for it with that Fire 3 spell. And the magic value at this spot, not absurdly high, so able to survive those viruses decently well. And put the punishment back out and reflect some of those spells for a little bit extra damage. We see some similar tactics over here on Slippery's screen, though his Yong's a pig. The piggy status is perfectly okay to have on your melee fighters, since all it does is limit you from casting any spell besides Pig. Can still do some decent fighting. Mini status is perfectly fine on your casters. It's going to make you very, very physically weak, but since Golbez only casts spells, having some shrunken spell slingers is perfectly okay.
Well, that's an item.
Yeah, that's a significant downgrade from what's there in the vanilla game, but not really concerned with the item. It's an objective done, and that's 2 for Possumorpheus. All he needs to get his hands on the Legend Sword or the Twin Harp, and he is officially in go mode.
I hope nobody watching the right side of the stream has motion sickness.
Nothing will make you lose your lunch faster than an extended period of staring at a poison screen.
This is the one time when you actually need less cowbell. Both of them went to the same safe spot. My guess, both of them are going to the ribbon room because it gives you 2 checks. And yep, there goes Possumorpheus.
Yeah, this is just too much value to leave on the table. Cagnazzo, kind of a nasty spot. We are very, very much over-leveled. Access to the nuke spell means we're going to be able to hit Cagnazzo very, very hard, very early. And that is very essential for this fight, since the amount of damage this wave spell is going to do is based on his remaining HP. So already Rydia taking a good 5,000 damage chunk out of him is going to help. Palom's going to get that lit 1 out to make the wave go down. I don't know if it was quick enough to stop him from queuing up a wave. We'll see here momentarily.
Thunderclaw also come in handy on this fight as well.
Yes, indeed. There goes the Berserk. Berserk Yang with Thunderclaw going to do some work here. Okay, yeah, looks like he did avoid the wave. Was able to get it before he queued up. That's a good 8,000 damage down on Cagnazzo. That's going to make the wave way more manageable here. Possumorpheus should be good going forward here.
Yeah, speaking of waves, both of our runners are on the same wavelength. Heck, they even have the same party composition.
Indeed, this is incredibly close race. Just how both runners have essentially made the same decisions throughout. Just a little bit of difference in when they took certain party members has been really the only difference in time between them. I anticipate this race is going to end very close, so don't look away here.
Listen, if you didn't sign up for puns, I don't know what you're doing watching Free Enterprise. Like, have you met us?
We don't punish people around here. No jokes about it. And Cagnazzo's in his shell. That is the final phase of this fight. Just a little bit of a damage race against his remedy spell, and Possumorpheus is going to be through this fight, and 2 key item checks closer to the end of this seed.
Yeah, at this point, Cagnazzo getting in his shell. You're not going to see him healing himself by the time you take care of him.
Not anything we were looking for in particular, but that pass is going to make it even quicker. That means when they do go down to, because they are going to have to, with the objectives on here, they're going to have to go back to the blue planet at some point. That pass means that they're not going to have to come back here. They can go right to Threemus through Troya and make this even quicker.
Oh, there's a nope rope.
Ooh. Boy, we were talking earlier about how we were getting all the easy bosses out of the way early. Yeah, that's you don't want to fight that on the moon if you can avoid it.
Yeah.
So we have a quick reset from Possumorpheus. Looks like he's moving his team around. He might be looking to go in at it with a better setup. Yeah, it looks like it. Not gonna skip. So yeah, I like this. He's got a powerful team. Very confident in it, ready to just move in and roll over this rather than just passing on this check till later.
Yeah, probably wants to just get rid of it now so that he can do all the moon checks at once so he doesn't have to come back, especially now that he's got that pass.
Yes, indeed. Gosh, Golbez, Cagnazzo, Ogopogo so far on the moon. This has been a trolley moon.
Gosh, what else could be terrible up here?
Oh, I was going to say all Gauntlet Ogopogo, but we've already run into that.
Yeah, we've already
That's the dream. And the Noodle taking out Palom here. Slippery is about to walk into this fight. Going to see the terrifying visage for himself. We'll see if he decides to fight it, change his tactics, or move on.
I guess Odin could be kind of bad up on the moon, depending on where you find him.
Yeah, it's going to be a big damage race against Odin. If it's in a particularly strong magic spot, that Zantetsuken can really do a number on your team. But with Yang as powered up as he is, he's likely to eat any of Odin's swordplay. So he might that might not be as scary as a fight as it could ordinarily be.
And the nope rope is tied in knots. I was about to say it's a key item, but getting closer to 10 doesn't mean anything because they already did the grind.
Now, right you are. Really no value in that package whatsoever. Just time to move on. And some more swag off the save point strats there. Is that legal? Are we going to allow that? I feel like that's just disrespecting the save point.
Listen, some of the things we already do to disrespect this game, I'm not going to get them on the save point.
That's very true. And now we're going to check Vanilla Ogopogo spot. And Pale Dim, our first reasonably easy lunar boss, moving down from his normal spot further up in the lunar subterranean. Does punch hard, though. That Rydia taking over half her HP just from a single attack. And Slippery is right on Possumorpheus' heels. He did not reset out of the Ogopogo fight, just did it right from the get-go, so he made up a little bit of time there. And now it's an even smaller differential between these two runners. This is getting really, really heated.
Yeah, definitely a good play on Slippery's, Slippery's side, because if he has to reset and loses that Ogopogo fight, he doesn't lose anything of value.
Yeah, but as long as these runners are just going to be making these same routing decisions, like we mentioned, just going to come down to execution and simple decisions like not resetting out of the fight for a better setup are going to make all the difference here.
And the Pale Dim is looking pale on Possumorpheus' side. Ooh, and a Baron Key, that opens up a couple more checks.
Indeed, it does. Not the thing you're hoping to see up here on the moon. You'd like a quick, swift resolution to the seed rather than opening potential rabbit holes, but that is definitely an option that is on the table here for Possumorpheus. You always have the Hail Mary play of deciding to just leave the moon and bank on that Baron Key. I can't imagine Possumorpheus is going to make that call with only 2 checks left on the moon. I see him finishing the whole thing, but always something about. Oh wow, is he going to immediately prove me? Okay, no, just resting. Okay. Thought for a second I was going to be immediately proven wrong yet again, but no, just resting.
Yeah, the value cave has not been checked yet.
Yep, and we still have that Pale Dim altar as well. And that's where he's headed now, to that Pale Dim altar to check the boss here, get the last check in the lunar subterranean, and then just Bahamut Cave remaining for key item checks on the moon here. Meanwhile, slippery42 has finished up his fight, also going to go rest in the lunar whale.
Wow, they're like so on the same wavelength that they both exited, went to the whale to heal.
Yeah, pretty crazy. I don't think either of them have found cabin, so it's sensible. But it just kind of shows you just how well practiced these runners are, that they have such incredibly similar thought patterns when it comes to approaching the seed.
Oh yeah, Val, that's another fun one to find on the moon.
And Possumorpheus is going to reset out of it, going to say, you know what, if Val is the answer to the seed, then I'll go find a different answer, and going to abandon it. I can't say I blame him. That is a very, very difficult spot to fight Volvalis.
Yeah, you'd pretty much be relying on Yang for that, I think. And even then, that's not much of a damage anyway.
Yeah, we'll see what Slippery decides to do, if he decides to bang his head against it, or similarly reset out. But here comes the moment of truth. Getting a peek over at the fight on Bahamut. It is one flavor of Mylon. I don't believe we've seen either, so this could be the regular or Z variety.
Yep, it is one and a Mylon.
Slippery's going for it. Nuke doesn't hit. That might change his opinion. Okay, yes, no longer going for it. Had to test the one nuke. It doesn't miss. Slippery says, no thank you. I'm slipping right out of here. Let's go see what's in Value Cave.
Oh, goodness.
Oh, I just got one in a Mylon. Good job, Dijon.
Now, using Bahamut in Cave Bahamut.
Appropriate.
Indeed.
Yeah, once you get Nuke on Rydia, that's going to be basically what you're going to be using on her in most situations, but Bahamut still has that clearing potential, and AoE-centric fights like this can still be incredibly useful. And that Lit 1 hitting for about 95 damage, not going to be a problem for any of these party members here. As high as the magic might be here, Lit 1 is still Lit
1. And defeated Mylon without triggering the script.
Whew. Luca Key, more rabbit holes. This seed might open up here. We might finally see some divergence.
Its name is Luca. It lives on the 2nd floor.
That's one of the Luca references you could make, I suppose.
No.
Maybe not the Luca that most people around here are more comfortable with, but you know what? I still like it. I like it.
Well, over on Slippery's side, Mylon's body is no longer a wonderland.
Broke Chrono Trigger references, woke 80s pop music. And Possumorpheus is going to cash in that Baron Key first here. Reasonable call. There are 2 key items to be gotten here, both from Baron Key itself and the Odin spot.
Yeah, so if these 2 spots don't lead to anything new, and the Sealed Cave doesn't have anything that leads to anything new, that Valvalis,
Yeah, that Val starts to look really terrifying. I mean, there is also the chance that our good friend Threemus could be holding something somewhere. There are a couple of boss spots that haven't been checked specifically on that hook route. So, I mean, there are still other options, but yeah. Especially everything underground as well, because nobody's been underground yet.
Nope. They will do anything to avoid that hook route.
We see a lot of Moons Haunted. You don't often see the Underworld's Haunted. Oh, Slippery is making the play to the Underworld, speaking of which, going down that hook route here. This is our first major bit of divergence between our 2 runners, and this could be key.
Yeah.
Wow, that is the saddest Emblem Cave item shop I think I've ever seen.
Do we have elements or do we have Ruby? It's the elements.
Don't think we're going to be seeing anything outside of Mr. Mylon here, as a single nuke should seal the deal.
Yeah. Yep, there it goes.
Now, this is a very crucial key item check here for Possumorpheus. If this is something big, then he has a huge advantage. If not, still has that Odin spot to check. But outside of that, might be chasing Slippery, and we might have a little bit of a lead change here. You got to be thinking, it's something we'll have to make a note to ask Slippery. If his decision to go underground here comes from feeling behind, if he feels like took too much time on the moon or what have you, if he feels like he's behind in this race, deciding to go underground, maybe that's a decision that comes from a place of being different from the maybe more obvious Baron play. But the Sand Ruby, that's not going to give you anything. And now Possumorpheus' hopes are in Odin.
And if Odin has the Magma Key, he can still get underground before Slippery.
Yes, indeed. So there are a number of key items here that Odin can have that would be great for Possumorpheus. Obviously, the Twin Heart puts him in go mode. The Legend Sword puts him in go mode, but he still has to go underground. The Magma Key gives him underground while skipping that hook route and saves him a bunch of time. Any of those three, or even a Rat Tail that might lead to something, could be huge for Possumorpheus. But outside of that, he might be playing catch-up here shortly.
No, I'm catch-up.
Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. I forgot that you were the queen of confidence.
Yeah. And we got Maga Sisters on the throne.
Yeah, this is a great fight to see when you have such a mage-heavy setup here with so many AoE targeting abilities like Bahamut and Quake. This is going to deal with this fight very quickly. All right, glue your eyes to Possumorpheus' screen. This is a huge reveal. It is a full moon, and that is a big goose egg for Baron Castle.
Well, this is an evil wall spot, but given the high level that Slippery's at, probably not going to be too bad.
I feel like this is like the 90th seed in a row on this flag set I've seen with Evil Wall in this spot.
Oh gosh, what was the one I saw the other day that had Evil Wall here, and then what was the one after that? It was something else. I think it was Ogopogo right after.
Oh gosh, yeah, that's terrible. But yeah, not a problem for our runners here. They were able to get their grind and the moon all out of the way before coming down here. So Evil Wall is a speed bump rather than a pass blocker.
Now, Dr. Luggage.
Grr goes the ball nab.
So, right now it's still anyone's race, because even though Slippery is going to get into the underground before Possumorpheus, it all depends on where each one of them goes first.
Yeah, there are so many options underground since nothing down there has been touched yet, where you can go hunting for those key items you need. The pan seems like an obvious play. It's been sitting in their inventories for a while, and it leads to so many key item checks. It would be. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say there's the freebie and the Fey March. They have the Luca key.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. Any of these could be potential options, and it's going to be a case of, not just where our runners feel like they can get the most value out of, but what they think their opponent might not do if they're afraid that they're behind the other racer right now.
Gosh, this is such an exciting seed.
Yeah, definitely one of the closer races I've seen right from start to now, and I imagine it's going to continue to be so right until the end. These are just two of the best runners in this tournament right now, going at each other and really putting it on display here. And that's Octomam up at the top of the tower. Good to get that intel, though difficult to think of a boss in the underworld that's going to pose too much of a threat for our runners at this point. And yes, looks like Slippery is heading right over to the Sylph Cave to give our monk friend a little whack on the head and get a number of key items for doing so.
The noise you're hearing on Slippery's side is going to be the poison sound effect.
Yeah, I believe he has the visual effects turned off. No flashing screen when we hit young today.
Well,
That's a thing.
sure, why not at this point?
I mean, it is only in their nature for the Sylphs as Fey folk to play pranks. So handing over a spoon as a reward is very in character for them.
Yeah.
And we're heading into the Fey March now here for Slippery. Going to grab that free chest in the middle of the town and might take a peek at the bosses here. These bosses have a tendency to be kind of nasty, but with the party as powered up as it is, he might want to just roll through them real quick to get key item checks from them. Pinktail's not going to be useful here. High grade
Who likes equipment?
Yeah. At this point, I can't even really think of a piece of gear from the Pinktail that would be worth going over to get it. Maybe a Stardust Rod, but honestly, when you're relying on Yang and mages this much, there's nothing that's going to be as boom-breaking as, say, like a Crystal Sword for Cecil.
Yeah, there's not really much of anything you need from that unless, like, there's a shirt of some kind.
Possumorpheus, meanwhile, is through the hook route, and we'll see where he heads in the underworld. And looked like he was headed for Sylph Cave and made a divergence, is heading over to the Fey March as well. Oh wow, that's some freebies.
That is the freest Fey March I have ever seen.
Yeah, you aren't gonna get a Fey March that easy.
Possumorpheus going straight to the sealed cave, so...
Yeah, I would call this a little bit of an unorthodox play with everything else available, but, you know, that Luca Key was up on the moon, might be banking on the fact that if he did moon earlier than his opponent, this is his ace in the hole. But we'll see if this pays off here. We're going to get two very quick key item checks from Slippery here in the Fey March, and then we will probably see what Possumorpheus finds down here, and this could be a deciding factor coming up very quickly. A good item, but not what you're looking for.
I mean, technically, we're all kind of already down to the Hades.
That's true. We are already in the underworld here. But yeah, deciding to just let the cutscene play out. Given the amount of HP here, this is oh no, actually he is nuking, so never mind. Gonna try to beat the cutscene. Oh, just a magma key down in the sealed cave. Not what you want to see.
Guess gotta check and see if it's deepest.
Just plague.
Yep. So that's a reset.
And now if you're Possumorpheus, you've got to be panicking a little bit. You just went into Baron, it was empty. You just followed the sealed cave, it was empty. Going to Fey March here. Going to get not terribly far behind Slippery here. But yeah, that's got to be weighing on his shoulders right now. And the King and Queen Evelyn have been put to rest.
Oof.
Hell, a free Fey March, and it's got nothing to show for it.
Yeah. The one time you get the free bosses down in both spots, and it's not worth it. I mean, Artemis Bow, pretty great weapon. Don't get me wrong.
So now, if you're Slippery, are you going to go turn that pan in, or are you going to head to the sealed cave? We know that the sealed cave definitely isn't the answer here, but we'll see what Slippery chooses here. The pan was actually in the antlion cave way back at the start of the seed. And no, going to Keel's Tower, it looks like.
Huh. I mean, that's the Galaxy Brain play if it pays off.
No, okay, I see what he's doing. He's actually just saving at the tower, so if Sheila doesn't pay off, he can just save scum right back there. That is actually very, very heads up.
Yeah, that's a pretty good...
Always remember, you got 4 save slots per free Enterprise seed. They are a resource, just like anything else in the game. Use them. You can shave precious time off of your game. And Possumorpheus is on his way to finding out that the Feymarch has nothing to offer him.
Yeah, unfortunately we know that this is not going to pay off for him, but when you see
Sheila with nothing that could even remotely be considered the goods.
Wow! Oh my gosh.
And gonna take that save scum back to the Tower of Babel, but no, going to
he's
Audible.
Gonna check.
Oh goodness, we know this is not the play.
He's gonna find that magma key.
Now the good news is he didn't do any other save here, so once he finds out there's nothing in here worthwhile, he can just take that reset and go right into the Keyless Tower if indeed he wants to make that his next play. But yeah, this is essentially virtually a tie right now. Both runners are in the middle of doing checks that are not going to pay out. They both have checks ahead of them that aren't going to pay out that they would logically have next. So this is very, very interesting right here. Gosh, could Volvalis be completely required here? If Volvalis has the Twin Harp, and the Twin Harp leads to the Legend Sword, that would be the worst case scenario, I believe.
Gosh, there's... Slippery getting that disappointment.
Gonna check the boss just to be sure. So we still have not seen hide nor hair of the Mist Dragon.
Looks like Possumorpheus might be making the same play of checking the pan items and reloading in front of the tower when he inevitably realizes it's garbage.
Here's a brand new check, though. Slippery is going to check out Dwarf Castle. Obviously, we've already done Luca Cave, and the Warp Glitch isn't on, so Dwarf Castle is a little bit of a less valuable play in the table flags than it has been previously in this tournament, but it is a key item check, and it could be what Slippery needs here.
Indeed.
Yeah, let's give a huge shout out to Pancraz doing the restream for this wonderful seed. This is fantastic.
Gosh, we've done so many other checks, I'd forgotten we hadn't even touched Dwarf Castle yet.
And up to the overworld with Possumorpheus. I'm most certainly going to check Sheila here and be a little disappointed. Baigen never a fun fight to run into, but there's nothing left that this seed can challenge our runners with combat-wise. It's basically just how long is it going to take to check something?
How long until you have to fight that Valvalis?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we do have that Artemis bow. Rosa with aim can get through Valvalis' evasion. That is not how I would want to fight Valvalis, but I mean, at least there is the means to do so if it ends up being required.
There's a reset from Possumorpheus, and we've got an Ashura on Slippery's side. And Keyless Tower. This is our first peek at that.
Yeah, this is a true full-on divergence here. One key item check for one key item check. And unless it turns up empty for both runners, we could see a breakthrough here. Here goes the very slow hands that nobody can do anything about. What are you going to do about a very slow hand? Kind of casually walk up to it.
I mean, if you saw a floating hand, would you touch it?
I mean, that's true. We don't know where that hand's been. Luca has Twin Harp. That's go mode for Slippery. Now, this isn't necessarily the end for Possumorpheus. If Possumorpheus gets the Legend Sword here, they could both be in go mode. So this is still a very important Octomam fight here for Possumorpheus. If it is a Legend Sword, he might even be ahead with how quicker that is to turn in. But that is going to be a huge dice roll here. But either way, we're going to get some music here from Slippery's end. So Chat is the real winner here tonight. Down goes Octomam, and this might be the most crucial key item check of the seed yet. Rat Tail, oh goodness, that has got to be the Legend Sword, and Possumorpheus has to check it now. If it's not, or he doesn't, then this might be all in Slippery's end. Here comes the Dark Elf fight. Not a lot of iron being worn by this team.
Yeah.
I imagine you're just going to sit back and let the cutscene play out. It's probably going to be quicker than trying to last minute get some kind of wipe together.
Pretty much.
But with the end of that cutscene, Dijon and I are going to go silent for a little bit. And as my good friend Rex Roll would say, we can enjoy the rockin' tunes of DJ Spoony D. Sonic Boom.
Guile's theme goes with everything, including free enterprise.
Indeed. My main since the ST days. I love it. And there's the tower key. But more importantly, there's the third objective and the crystal, and Slippery is on his way to Zeromus. Possumorpheus is making the correct play now. Going into Dwarf Castle, will have the Twin Harp, but is going to be trailing Slippery. It's very much Slippery in the driver's seat right now.
Wow, so at this point, that Legend Sword has to either be in a chain behind Valvalis or whatever's in the Super Cannon room.
Yeah, right you are. I am dying to see the spoiler log after this to find out how everything shook out. But
hey, there's some spam going on.
I know. Should I delete it? Like,
I don't know.
I mean, that's what I'm supposed to do. Like, as a mod, like I delete spam, right?
But some of them are mods.
Oh gosh, I don't know if I want to power struggle like that. Maybe we better just capitulate. You better ask the question.
Who let the dogs out? Who?
I mean, I know this game is from the '90s, but we don't need to go back that far musically. Do you have another question in mind?
Whose butt are we gonna kick?
That sounds better.
Okay.
It is indeed butt time. We're going to see what the true form of the Destroyer is.
Nope, don't like that.
There goes the crystal. And this should be a relatively straightforward Zeromus fight. We have excellently leveled characters here. Even Rydia, who is normally lacking in the HP department, still has far and away enough HP to survive Big Bangs reliably here. So unless something catastrophic happens, Slippery is very much in control here.
That is a Final Fantasy boss, yes.
Shout out to our friends at the Final Fantasy randomizer community.
Pretty sure one of the seats the other night had Chaosness. Oh, and Randomania 3 coming in with the hot raid.
Welcome, everybody. We're at the end of a real nail-biter here. This has been a fantastic race that's gone back and forth. Ended up just being a little bit of routing decisions at the end that has decided it. But yeah, you're in just in time to catch the conclusion. And it looks like we're seeing full-on reflex strats here from Slippery. I like this play with as many mages as he has set up. Reflex strats can be significantly faster. Oh no, he does have some hybrid up. Yang is actually doing some punching.
Yeah, so it looks like he may end up triggering that health refill. So for those who aren't aware, they wanted to give Zeromus more HP than the game could actually handle. So what happens is they give them the max, and then once you hit a certain threshold, the HP will refill. However, it doesn't take into account reflected spells, so that doesn't trip the refill.
Yes, indeed. One of those exploits of the no countering counters rule and since reflecting is considered a counter, we can take advantage of that. Okay, so that Young wasn't berserked. He was just doing some punching to add some damage to get closer to that necessary. Now he's just going to be throwing out items. So it looks like, yes, we do have these reflect strats here. There's the shake. We got another big bang coming. I kind of lost count of how many spells have gone out, but we have got to be getting close to that magic number here.
Also, can I say that this is epic music to have on this fight? Which, is over.
You had those effects turned off, so no flashbang boom, but we do get the shake, we do get the disintegrate, and slippery42 has taken the victory here tonight, taking their second win of the table flags, and remaining undefeated so far in tables. GG's to slippery42 from kind of coming from behind, was lagging most of this race. Some routing decisions at the end put him ahead and won this real nail biter. And I believe we are joined by Slippery himself. Slippery, GG. Congratulations.
Thank you. That feels really good. I watched Possumorpheus's previous matches, and I was terrified coming into this.
But, yeah, absolutely no easy opponent there. Possumorpheus has kind of come onto the scene and really just started tearing through things. But you held your own, and you were both neck and neck throughout this race. It was really just some last-minute routing decisions at the end that spelled the difference. What was kind of going through your mind as you were running into like dead end after dead end at the end there?
Well, I was basically just hoping my opponent was falling down the same rabbit holes, honestly. I mean, when you get an early darkness crystal and have a starting Tella, pretty much anything with like a key item hunt turns into basically a coin flip as to whether you're going to win or not. So luckily it came up heads for me this time.
Yeah, so once you came down from the moon, you had several places you could go, especially once you unlocked the underground. So what was your thought process in picking where to go first?
Well, I think it mostly comes down to the density of checks for me. I mean, the pan check was three checks for no fights, so I mean that was kind of a given. And then Feymarch has the freebie chest and then 2 fights right next to each other. So I did that one next. And then from there it was, basically roll my dice at my desk and figure out where to go next.
Yeah, I have to know your reaction when you saw the incredibly free Feymarch.
Oh yeah, I mean that was. I kind of figured my if value was there, I figured I would have lost because I didn't know if Possumorpheus would have kind of reset out of the vanilla antlion fight, which is where you get the pan. And if you didn't have the pan, you're probably going to go to the Feymarch first. So I was a little bit scared, but I guess luckily things came up good.
Indeed, they did. One thing I wanted to ask you about was sort of your play at the very beginning of the game. One thing that was really different with how you played compared to Possumorpheus was you took a long time before kind of assembling your initial party, kind of dismissed everybody, and then went picking and choosing there at the Tower of Wishes. Can you kind of walk us through what your sort of party building philosophy was, what you were looking for, what kind of made you decide to go with what you did?
Yeah, so generally I like to leave, I pick up no more than 3 characters starting out, and because that leaves spots open for, what if we find an edge, what if we find a Cecil and an Excalibur or better, or something like that. So I like collecting all the party members, and that sort of gives me a little bit of time to think about what I really want before I hit Nasidia for the last 2 freebies, and then I assemble my party. I think I took a Yang this time around as a 4th. I usually don't do that, but I needed somebody beefy and somebody to handle physical damage, so took him. And I think I found a dancing dagger early on, so Palom was kind of a no-brainer there.
Yeah, the Young really worked out well, not with the early grind available and just not a lot of great melee weapons lying around. He was a perfect fit.
Oh yeah, and also I think, especially when you get those like an early darkness crystal and need to do a D machine grind, one of the big time wasters is getting through the beamers, and that Thunderclaw really helps knock those down.
Oh yeah, very very good point. So you're 2-0 now in the table stage. Really fantastic start. How are you feeling about your upcoming matches? Are there any adjustments you're going to make? Anything you're going to specifically work on in practice going forward? What's kind of your general outlook on the tournament upcoming?
See, I'll probably just kind of keep running practice seeds. One a day. I've got games Tuesday, Thursday, and I think like this coming Sunday. So I mean, the matches will be practice in themselves. Otherwise, just watching some free enterprise, I feel like I've learned quite a bit just these past couple days, trying to scout out how my opponents play and stuff. And it's like every time one of these tournaments comes up, I feel like it makes me a much better player.
Yeah, you've been playing just absolutely fantastically. It's been an absolute pleasure watching you, and I can't wait to see you in the upcoming races. So best of luck to you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Any final thoughts or anything you want to share before we let you go?
Just a big shout out to any of my hometown fans watching. I found out one of my old high school buddies is a big Free Enterprise fan, so Monkey, if you're watching, what's up?
That's cool. That's so cool.
And looking forward to the rest of the tournament. Thanks to you guys and the entire Restream team for putting this on.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us, and congratulations again tonight.
Yeah. So, I would like to point out just real quick that the Legend Sword was Iridia's mom.
Yeah, and I don't think we saw a hide nor hair of the D machine, or I keep saying that D mist. It's late.
Yeah.
D mist anywhere in that spoiler screen. So who knows where the Legend Sword actually was?
Yeah.
But I believe we are joined by Possumorpheus as well. Possumorpheus, that was an incredibly close race. Just kind of came up a little short at the end. How do you kind of feel about that seed overall?
I feel pretty good about it. I don't think I made any, super huge mistakes or anything like that. I think it just came down to routing and, GG to Slippery on, going to the right place faster. So, it is what it is. Sometimes you pick the right route, and sometimes for the second or third race in a row, you don't. And, you win some of those and you lose some of those.
Yeah, that does tend to be how it be.
What was kind of the feeling there when you got done with the moon? You've just got one key item you need to find somewhere to get in go mode, and just nothing is paying off with any of the checks you make. What was that sort of affecting the decisions you were making going forward there? What was sort of your where were you at mentally there?
Yeah, by not seeing a dot done yet, it told me a couple of things. The first was that Val was definitely on the table, because that would be something that you wouldn't want to do really unless you had a cane. Um, you could do it with Yang, but it's going to be really time consuming. And if I lose to that, so be it. I accept my fate on that. But after finishing the rest of the moon, it was like, okay, I need to chase what I found up there. So let's take Luca right away. That was a blank, and then check for a D-Mist in Sealed Cave because we hadn't seen that either yet. And I will go back and post in spoilers for everyone where D-Mist was on the Free Enterprise channel once I go through and find D-Mist.
Yeah, I think that's the burning
gosh.
question in the chat right now.
Yeah, so we'll definitely figure out where D-Mist was because I'd like to get to the bottom of that mystery too. But I honestly thought about fading Feymarch entirely, even after seeing how free it was, because my thought process, first of all, was if Slippery went underground, well, I would have lost already. If it was that Feymarch, I would have lost already. So taking those checks and even taking the pan checks, I was like, I don't know if this is right. But I think I still have to play the odds on it that we just took the same route. And I have this nasty habit also of fading Dwarf Castle because it's 1 key item check on this flag set, not 2, since Warp Glitch is off. 2 bosses for 1 key item check is not good economy. So that kind of bit me, and I'll live with it. I'll play the odds every time I can.
Yeah, no, it was absolutely a completely sensible philosophy. Watching this race back, I think will be pretty entertaining. Both of you were making incredibly similar routing decisions. You were both neck and neck throughout most of this, and ultimately what ended up being the difference was Dwarf Castle versus the Tower Battle there at the end. That really was the deciding factor. But this was a real nail biter to watch for chat. So super entertaining watching you play.
Yeah, well, I'm glad chat was entertained. Again, I feel like I ran a plenty good race. No qualms with how I played. Today I learned that life staff retargets when you use it as an item.
Yeah, that was fun intel.
So yeah, I hope everyone got a kick out of that too. But yeah, thank you to you, Dijon, and also Smapety, both of y'all on comms. Awesome job as always. Thank you to Pancras for making me go all around the world and the moon and everywhere in between. And I always forget to look at who the tracker is, but thank you to the tracker as well. And thank you again to everyone behind the scenes. Y'all do an amazing job. And, I'll try to do better next time. But, this is how the cookie crumbles sometimes.
Well, thank you for putting on such a fantastic show. Just a real solid clinic in how high-level Free Enterprise is played. So, didn't come up with the W this time, but be looking forward to your next race. Can't wait to watch you in action again, Possumorpheus.
All right. Well, thank you guys again, and y'all have a blessed evening. And GG again to Slippery, fantastic runner, and look forward to a rematch in top 16.
Yeah.
See you there.
Well done.
And GG's to both of our runners. Just a great race. Definitely one of the most exciting races I've seen so far this table. How about you, Dijon?
Oh yeah, that was a pretty great one.
Yeah, excellent. So it looks like we're going to be sending you over to the Satellite 54 for a little bit of a late night Free Enterprise action here as we finish up with the tournaments for the day. Don't worry, we've got plenty in store for you tomorrow. I believe we've got about 4 races scheduled to be broadcast tomorrow. So you can get over the Monday doldrums with a little bit of extra Free Enterprise. But yeah, for the rest of our broadcast team here tonight, our Tracker Gambit 017, our Restreamer Pancras, and my co-commentator today, Dijon Ketchup. My name is Smapety, and thank you so much for watching, everybody.
Toodaloo.